images and the kind of culture that brings.
Culture, the pop stars that are like sexual, and often very negative as well. You know, like they're dominated by men and they've got the clothes off in the video.
Sure. So do you want to know from the panellists what they intend to do in terms of
because you can't teach children how to respect each other as human beings, and you know, if you're teaching children, women are there for sex and women are sex objects and women are there for you to use for sex. So it's a contradiction, isn't it? You need to take some responsibility, any party, for the media messages in the newspapers and on the TV, because surely the government have a say in the messages that are getting pumped out in them.
Okay, thank you. So if we can ask you to keep to around a minute.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think there's a big problem, and it comes back to this point of the zero tolerance. It comes back to us saying, actually, we as a society have zero tolerance for this type of image, for this type of behaviour. I know we've been doing a lot on the kind of No to Page 3 campaign, and you know, we almost thought we had a victory earlier this year. We almost thought that Page 3 had gone, and then they brought it back again. But do you know what? I think times are changing. I think people do realise that these sort of sexualised images are wrong. I think there was a big outcry again with the Robin Thicke song. There was a big public outcry, and I think it's by, I think the best way that we move forward on this is by having this big public outcry, by rather than as sort of banning things from the top, which I don't think works very well, for us to be having these big public outcries, for groups like No More Page 3 to be working hard and to be fighting against this, and for us to be staying, for us to be giving that our support, and for us as politicians to be giving that our support as well. And I think the Labour Party has been very strong in terms of that. I think it's difficult to get some sort of, are we advocating for a ban? I think that's very difficult, because I think it's very difficult to put in legislation exactly what it is that you're banning. But I think we should certainly be looking towards this as, this is not acceptable, and this is part of our zero tolerance attitude, that this is not acceptable, and we need to be making it clear to the likes of Rupert Murdoch, to the likes of Robin Thicke. We need to make it clear that this is not acceptable, and it's playing into rape culture. And it goes back to everyday sexism, where it's this continuous line between, I sat on a bus and some guy put his hand on my leg, or some guy followed me home from the bus and put his foot in my door, to somebody getting raped in an alleyway. And it's a continuous line, and there's no break in it. We need to be making that clear to the people who perpetrate this.
Thank you. Antonia, Lee, go Tony first, then Leon, then go.
Okay. I agree with you that it's not acceptable. I remember as a child there was the watershed that things weren't put on until after 9, which has got just vanished. And that is a policy that could be brought back. We have been quite active in the No to Page 3. Caroline Lucas was told off by the speaker for arriving and talking about it in a No to Page 3 t-shirt. There's an awful lot more that I could say on this, but I'm aware of time. I think that it is something that a mixture of public pressure groups and legislation, both, is necessary, and whoever, an awful lot, and this goes beyond party political, an awful lot of the massive changes that have happened in the world have happened not just because of whatever party has been in power at the time, has been because there's been enough public pressure. So across whatever political divides, that is something that we need to keep the pressure on.
What I've found is the people I know, because Deborah and I know a few people in the day centre, they just think it's normal, and they defend sort of Page 3. And one guy joked, "We've moved it out of the sun, and now I've got 4 Page 3 girls look at him." The sister publication, one of those with all the
there's something called misrepresentation. It's on YouTube. There's a video which, if anyone hasn't watched it, I recommend that they do. It's horrifying, but it's also quite inspiring. Some looks at the ways in which women are misrepresented. Miss as in miss person representation. Have a look at it. It's pretty interesting.
They look like that, don't they, to disrespect women?
Yeah, but if society didn't accept it as normal, if people didn't think it was normal to be like that, and we said it's not normal.
And if we called it out, and it comes back to calling it out, it's zero tolerance, it's calling it out on every occasion.
Okay, let's hear quickly from Leon.
Okay, well, personally, I don't buy The Sun, I don't read The Sun, I will not. This is one of the many reasons why I don't read The Sun. That's my particular protest. That's something I think you're right. We do need to do something about it. For once, I agree with Leona about the legislation would be very, very difficult to enforce. We do need to change cultures. I must confess, it's probably my age, but I've never actually heard the Robin Thicke song, except for the occasional clip on the news.
Yeah.
I agree, it's ridiculous, but I can also remember the same things being said about what the songs in the 60s and 70s.
That song is about a woman.
Yes, I know, but I'm saying, one of the problems in this society, I mean, I have a lot of connections with the Netherlands. My wife is Dutch, I'm half Dutch. And when I've gone across to there, in fact, the society there, there's a lot more images which you might call sexual, but there's a lot less problems because people just are far more hung up about these areas. And what? Sorry. Okay. I'm trying to think while I talk, which is always difficult. I think part of the problem is this society is a very repressed and very sexually repressed society, and we have to find ways to allow people to express that. Well, agreed. I think there is a lot of misogyny in society. If you want me to keep the time, can you not interrupt me then, please?
Okay, right, let's go quickly, Gary, and then we're going to go to the, try and get another question in after.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we should have the 9 o'clock watershed for a start. Absolutely, I totally agree with what you're saying there. Yeah, I do think there is too much sex and violence on the television. I won't let my son watch it. I would never let him watch it. Fortunately, he's not interested. Page 3, not happy about that at all. That was from way back in the 60s sort of thing, when we didn't have all this respect words and everything. And games as well, PlayStation, PlayStation 4, all of that. It shouldn't be happening, and it does seem that we as a society, it does seem to be getting worse, and it shouldn't. And let's have the 9 o'clock watershed. And the other thing, very quickly, is that my son came when he was about 9. He came and he'd had sex education. I was shocked. What are you doing? To me, as an innocent lad, he's had his school. Well, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, that's just me. And that song you were on about, I've never heard it, and thank goodness I haven't heard it. I'm very pleased about it.
Let's come back to the. It's your. Monica, was it a comment or a question?
Right, I want to ask about this economy could not exist if it was not for the exploitation of the unpaid labour and women as carers and mothers. Yes, we love our relatives and our children, but there's two things here. The taxation system is unfair against families where there is a same-sex or heterosexual, where there's a carer or a parent at home. A family with 2 working parents actually pay less tax than a family where one partner's made the sacrifice to have 1 less wage. And also, I want to know, will any of the parties recognise that stay-at-home parents and carers should be recognised with some kind of living wage, citizens' income, something like that, that we owe an economic value? And please drop the hard-working families, meaning just feeding that capitalist machine.